welcome to episode 46 of the MMG podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Go Cubs 711.
Chris, I'm gonna make a comparison for our relationship.
Okay.
You are the quarterback, and I'm the wide receiver.
Okay.
You run the show, like it's your deal. You are the one who calls the plays, aka sets up the schedule, sets up what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm the one who you throw things to, who you ask to do certain segments and stuff. And you could kind of do this without me, but I really help you out a lot.
Yes, indeed. And
good analogy.
Yeah, I it's a great analogy. I think that when you have a reliable wide receiver, sometimes you may get those questions, those pundits out there that might be like, well, how good would this quarterback be without the wide receiver? And
the truth is, they would suck. They would be dead in the water.
Exactly.
Position.
No. That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, this. If you were not here, this would go in the trash fire.
Just not to compare it to Dak Prescott, but look at Dak Prescott.
Yeah, he got his wide receiver right now.
Don't have a Des Bryant or Amari Cooper, you're gonna suck, and you're gonna suck a lot.
Yeah, and then Amari Cooper opens really everything up. That sentence I've said word for word too many times over the last few weeks. I will not repeat it when we talk about the Cowboys this week. But that's a fair analogy. Welcome everyone to the MMG podcast. And so fun week, very fun week. And I was hoping for it to be as fun as it was, and it was even better. I think the only flaw of the week was the officiating, and everyone got on the officiating, but I just think, you know what, when you have as fun of games as this, I think that we could obviously look at the officiating later, but enjoy it for what it was. It was fun, it was chaotic, and it was what we'd expect in December. And I sense a shift because when we had that Monday Night Football game a few weeks back with the Rams Chiefs, and I will raise my hand on this one too and be like, I was on board with the idea that this might be a changing league where it's gonna be pass heavy, that it's all gonna be offense. But I gotta say, last few weeks, defense has been the showcase, and we're gonna talk about a few very key defensive teams in this recap show and how they may spoil some of our fun offensive teams that we've watched this season. But we're going to start with the matchup that was probably the most balanced all week. And what was the one of the two games, I believe, that went to overtime.
Yes.
It was the Ravens going to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Now, this could have been our playoff game last year. I remember this was what a lot of people were saying, oh, it's going to be Ravens-Chiefs. And then the Ravens got Andy Dalton, and we ended up with the Titans, and then the Titans beat the Chiefs. So, it happens. But we got the matchup this year, and it was just it was one of those matchups that, you looked at some of the plays that Patrick Mahomes made, and at times it was tough. It was a tough defense to go up against for the Ravens. But then you have one or two plays that he makes, and he had one of his best games today, even though it may not say it on in the stats and stuff, because he had so much confidence going against the Ravens. I felt like when watching the game. Everyone's talking about the no-look pass that he had.
That was fucking insane.
He's incredible, the accuracy, but it was also one of the key throws of the game that ended up leading it to overtime. I forget if it was actually in overtime, but the throw to Tyreek Hill, when it was it seemed like triple coverage, and he just perfectly places it in the hands of Hill, who has a huge gain. It was such an incredible play, and he just continues to wow people, and I think is starting to move ahead in most people's MVP races, because a lot of the time it's been him versus Drew Brees, but Brees has had a few difficult showings the past few weeks. It may be Mahomes that grabs it here. And he deserves it. This has been his team, and even without Hunt, this team has been absolutely phenomenal in the passing game, especially. And they're gonna keep getting better. They're getting healthier as well. With I think Eric Berry might finally be coming back. He may come back on Thursday, and what an addition that's going to be for that defense that needs it.
Yeah. A defense that sorely needs it.
Yeah, they've gotten better over the course of the season, but they desperately need some big playmakers, and he's been so good in the past, and haven't been out for almost 2 years now. To come back, I think he'll be very strong for them. The Ravens should not hold their head too low on this matchup. I think they're in great position right now for the playoffs. They got the Buccaneers, they got the Chargers, and they got the Browns. There's at least, I would say, 2 games in there that you can win, potentially a third if you play it right. I mean, the LA does not play well in their home stadium, so there's a very good chance they could win all 3 games. So I would not be too depressed, and Lamar Jackson continues to play well. I think everyone's gonna be like, oh well, he still misses some key throws, and I still think he's a better as a wide receiver than quarterback. Stop. Let's stop with these takes. Lamar Jackson is a legit NFL quarterback. Or at least he's getting there. And
he will be a suitable replacement for Joe Flacco once.
I think he reminds me, and I know it's so typical to say this, but you just see so many similarities to Russell Wilson in his play.
Yeah,
and it makes me feel like the Ravens could be the Seahawks, the 2013 Seahawks at some point, where you have this star quarterback leading the way, but it's not all about the offense, and it's the defense that's the ones that are the true stars, and that's the kind of team that the Ravens are. And I think they're going to fit well into the playoffs. I don't. It would be really a shame to see them fall apart, but we'll see how that goes. Anything that you would like to say on this matchup?
Just that I called the almost upset and in the Ravens.
Yeah, it's close. Yeah, I felt like this game was going to be close. I didn't think the Ravens were going to pull it off, but they were leading a few times in the game. So
yeah,
it was a good game that they lost to a very good team, and we'll see how they show out the next 3 weeks. Next up, this one we could graze over, but it's the Giants at Redskins for the blowout of the week, and the one thing I will address, I think it's just worth talking about, just because as a Giants fan having watched this team this year, I would honestly say they're better than what I expected this year, and that's it's not
better than second worst team in the league.
That's what I was thinking. I just felt like the talent was not there, but they're starting to get better. I think a lot of that is just because Saquon Barkley is playing as well. And I know a lot of people keep on saying how the Giants should have taken a quarterback. And I agree. I agree that they could have taken a quarterback there, and I would have been fine with it. But I still don't think it would have produced a winning season either. I mean, I just think that the team was just not good enough to be at that kind of point. But I love Saquon Barkley, and I love what he's brought to this team. And
Saquon was a very good investment, and Saquon could turn out to be the best fucking running back in the league.
Right.
But the problem with the Giants is that they still need a quarterback.
That
is an Eli Manning.
Right. What I was hoping for in the draft this past year was that they were going to get a quarterback. Or at least like an offensive lineman, because that was such a dire need.
Oh yeah.
And they did not go for it. They didn't go with the running back. And again, I think you can be semi-critical of the pick, but I think you can also look at what Saquon Barkley has done and be like, I'm glad that he is on the Giants. So I think it's like it's a catch-22. It's really, really difficult to really say how we're gonna have to probably watch it for a few years to really see what decision was right. I just think that the priority this season, they're them winning these games. I'm happy that they're winning these games, but they need to get into a position where they can get a quarterback, because they can't hold off another year. They can. I'm accepted the fact that Eli is probably playing in 2019 for them, but at the very least, get someone behind there that we can trust. Kyle Lauletta had some snaps in that Redskins game that he was awful, and considering the off-field stuff that he had earlier this year, I'm not too sure we could trust him. Get someone that we can trust. Get a first-round quarterback, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But I do want to compliment the Giants, though, because the playmakers on the field, Evan Ingram, even Odell Beckham was out in this game. Evan Ingram came back from injury, and he had an excellent day. So that if there's anything that's going to reassure me right now, it's that the offensive weapons that the Giants have are going to make the team more fun to watch. And so I'm looking forward to that. Redskins, they're a dumpster fire. Josh Johnson starting next week. I mean, come on.
Come on.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that this team was looked like the clear favorite in the NFC East after a few weeks, like in November, and then it just fell apart.
Deservedly so. Fuck the Washington football team.
And obviously, you don't want it to be because of injuries, but a lot of it is. But
yeah.
it's just been a disaster of a finish for this Washington team. And last but not least, the team chaos of the week. And it's hard to believe that this is I think it's the second week in a row with the Steelers on it. No, my apologies. Bears was
twice in 3 weeks, though.
But twice in 3 weeks, because they're now on a 3-game skid, because the Oakland Raiders, who just fired their general manager after a win, and the Raiders are now sitting in a weird position to try to pull some upsets here, because they got the Bengals and the Broncos, who are out of the playoff picture, but they're still kind of in it, and they could put the final nails in the coffin. And then they have the Chiefs in week 17. But my goodness, Steelers, I know that everyone's gonna say that they lost because of the turf, but there's other factors. Another big one was that Ben Roethlisberger.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, no, the people were saying
that's bullshit.
Yeah, that the kicker slipped at the end, and so that ruined the. I think when people talk about turfs and officiating, those are all shit that the team can't control. That ends up, that ends up being a factor in a team losing, but it's not the main factor ever, and it should never be looked at that like that. They held out Big Ben.
It's either the play of the players or the coaching that is the main factor.
I agree on that, and I think the Ben Roethlisberger being held out as long as he did was kind of ridiculous. He went out with an injury and did not come back for a good while, and let Josh Dobbs just take beating after beating from the Raiders. And friggin', I don't even understand. They said that the technology in the Oakland Stadium was just so bad that they could not tell what the injury was, so that's why they held him out. In which case, why put him back in? Because they did end up putting him back in.
Yeah.
So to me, the logic there was so flawed, and I don't trust them for the life of me what their reasoning behind it.
Calling it right now. If the Steelers do not make the playoffs this season, which they're probably still going to make.
Are they?
They might not. They might not.
I don't know.
If they don't, all of Pittsburgh is going to want Mike Tomlin fired.
For sure. They already want him fired. But, I mean, look at it, though. Patriots next week. Are they winning that game? I don't think so.
No.
Saints the following week. Are they winning that game?
Fuck off.
No.
No.
And then they have the Bengals the following week. Okay, let's say they win that. That's 8-7-1. The Ravens are going to have to lose 2 of their next 3 games.
Yeah.
And if they don't do that, the Ravens are winning this division at the least. And then what if you have one of these wildcard teams that all of a sudden step up?
Yeah, like the Broncos or Colts.
I don't know about the Broncos, but certainly...
I don't know about the Broncos, but the Colts.
The Dolphins.
Dolphins,
I mean Titans maybe.
maybe.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
Dude, if the Steelers don't make the playoffs this year, I'm going to laugh so fucking hard.
well, right, because everyone goes every single season we go into it saying that it's gonna be the Patriots and the Steelers. They're gonna be. I don't even know, even if the Steelers make the playoffs, they could pass the wild card round.
No, I sincerely doubt it because they'd have to face the Texans or the Patriots, depending on who's there,
Right.
who's the third seed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is a disaster right now in
they're not
Pittsburgh.
they're not getting fifth seed because that's going to be either the Chargers or Chiefs.
I I under I don't. And it's really hard to understand where they've gone wrong in Pittsburgh. Um, their offense is not the same without James Conner in it for sure. But and they're using they keep on working on Juju Smith-Schuster, who has had an amazing year, but they're not using Antonio Brown as much, and I don't know what the connection is there. I don't know what's happening, but he's just not had as great of a year as in years past. It's just something funky's going on, and it would really be a miraculous turnaround for them to be a team that they have lost to repeatedly, almost comically, every single year with the Patriots, and or to go to the Superdome and face a Saints team that is home for the first time in 3 weeks.
And they need a fucking win. The Saints really want to win, Chris.
And they really want to win. I don't know. And there's another scenario that I'm gonna hold off on until when we get to the picks, but the Steelers are I'm not. I would put them out of the playoff picture as of this moment. And that's crazy to say, but that's what happens when you face a Raiders team that is upset privy, I guess. Jesus Christ. What the world? What in the world? By the way, no one is going to have, after having a winless team last year, no team's going to have less than 3 wins after this weekend. They had a lot of bad teams lose this weekend.
Yeah.
Or win this weekend, rather. What is your most surprising team this week, Go Cubs?
My most surprising team.
I was just like, actually, I'm just putting this out for a platter right now. Go all in, my friend. Enjoy this.
Christopher.
Oh, Christopher, wow.
Christopher. You one of, if not the best offense in the league, or at least the debatably the best offense in the NFC. Just one of them. One of the 3 supposed super teams.
Yes.
To 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever how many yards they had, which was not a lot. I don't remember. You stopped Todd Gurley. You stopped their receivers. Want to know how many fantasy points Jared Goff had?
I heard it was 0.1.
0.1. Part of that is because he threw 3 picks.
Yeah.
And the Bears' defense is steamrolling. They steamroll offensive lines in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just on the defense. On the offense, only 15 points against a really good Rams defense who their offensive line held Aaron Donald to really anything.
It was a tough game for Donald.
Yeah. This game, the Bears are good. And that's not why they're surprising. It's surprising that they can actually compete with these supposed super teams.
It's true.
And fucking not just compete, demolish their offense.
Mm-hmm.
Take them down. The Bears have a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is an incredible, unreachable goal that I didn't think would have been possible last year. Everyone was comparing the Bears to last year's Rams. We're not, because our defense is the star of the show.
Yeah, I would compare you guys more to the Jaguars right now. Last year's Jaguars.
Last year's Jaguars. Yeah, I can see that. Except quarterback that has a future.
Well, right. Well, I mean, I do not mean to burst any bubbles because I'm gonna get to the praise in just a second. But the Mitchell Trubisky did have a rough game, and
Yeah.
I would. He's had a few rough games in the row, or I'm sorry, he had a rough game. I'm thinking of Jared Goff for a second, but yes, Mitchell Trubisky. He had a rough game. I think that he can turn it around, but because I think mainly he has the weapons around him to do so.
Yeah. A first game back from injury with a against one of the best NFC. Yeah, you're gonna have a rough game.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you on that. I think that's a good way to look at it right now. If it happens for a second week, I would then get a little bit more worried. But he's had a relatively good year where I'm not going to be like I do think that the defense is going to have to win some games here, but it has been doing that, so I'm not worried about it as much. This the way that you put it is excellent because we were sitting in September, both of us hyping the Bears, and probably to a lot of people at the time more than they deserved at the time. Because they did get the Khalil Mack trade, and I think both of us kind of looked at that moment as like this could end up being like a playoff team. Like this could actually get them to like a wild card spot.
Get them to a wild card spot of the away from a division win,
right?
After beating one of the potential 1 seeds.
It is so much more than we could have expected, and
still all of our losses. This is something. All of our losses have been within 1 score.
It's true.
The Patriots to a touchdown.
Yeah.
The Dolphins, Giants, and Packers to a field goal.
The Bears are good at playing teams close, and even if it's or if it's a win, there are some blowouts in the mix there. I mean, the biggest thing that I could think of is that this team. I don't see them faltering too much down the stretch. I mean, because they just are so. This is having a great defense is great in the winter, because of the fact that this is usually where defenses stiffen and become a lot tougher to play against. So I have no doubt that the Bears are not only playoff bound. I would write them in for the division win right now. I feel I have that much confidence, regardless of what happens this week. I would put them in there. So
because after that we have the 49ers who did a deal to the Broncos. We're better than the Broncos.
Yeah.
And then we have the Vikings who just fired their offensive coordinator after a abysmal performance last night.
Credit to Matt Nagy, obviously, for taking over this team and turning this team around, having his first season be a winning record, which is the first since like the early 1900s. It seems like for the Bears, it has been a long time since you had a winning record for your first season as a head coach. And Vic Fangio, man. The guy's a deserved. I mean, I know that you probably don't want to see him go away, but he's certainly a head coach in Canada, or should be considered a head coach in Canada going into next year.
With how well he's done with his defense, I would agree.
He is just absolutely. He is just has figured out ways to just scheme against absolutely everyone and shut people down, and it's gonna be really fun down the stretch. I don't really have too many concerns with the Bears team. Like I said, the only one I would think of is if the quarterback play is bad. But this
is my concern.
Yeah,
the Bears have a really cool record in the league where they allow the fewest first half points of any team.
Right.
Which is awesome. That does not translate to the third and fourth quarters.
Yeah, they have trouble holding on.
Yeah, so if the Bears can fix that, it will be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have a few, I'm not going to say guaranteed win games, but definitely all winnable games. And probably like 60 to 70% winnable games ahead of us on average.
Yeah.
For the last 3. So we'll see what happens. I am fucking pumped after this victory.
You should be. It's gonna be fun.
I've talked about the Bears enough.
Yeah, let's
I haven't, but let's go on.
My most surprising team is the Dolphins. and it's purely for one of the best plays in NFL history. I mean, come on, this was amazing. It was apparently 9 lead changes in this game between the Patriots and Dolphins. It was very close between this and Ravens Chiefs for game of the week, because this was a back and forth affair. But the Dolphins, I'm gonna give them credit for once. It was so much more than that last play. Their defense has played very well. They have a really good corner in Xavier Howard, and they have Kiko Alonso, who's done well in the linebacking core. Cameron Hayward's still playing well. You still have some great players on that defense, and it's made that team watchable. The running backs have been great. And Kenyon Drake, obviously, the star of the show, the guy. I'm sure that everyone has watched this play now, but it was the last play of the game, and Ryan Tannehill pitches it, and I believe it was Devontae Parker that had it at one point, and he pitched it to Kenyon Drake, and he just ran it all the way in. We could talk about the Patriots side of things, how they were preparing for a Hail Mary and not like a hook and ladder play, and putting Rob Gronkowski in there, which was really dumb. Just awful. One of the few awful coaching decisions by Bill Belichick in his career. But I told Go Cubs of this over text, and he never responded, which is probably a good thing. I am not going to be sad if the Dolphins make the playoffs. I think that there's something there that I can cling on to.
I forgot to respond to that.
There is something that I can cling on to about this team that's actually that I like. And Ryan Tannehill, he came out with an injury at one point, and Brock Osweiler came in, but he's not too bad of a quarterback. Ryan Tannehill, he's certainly better than Brock Osweiler, but
that's a low bar.
It's a low bar, but he's playing good enough where he's keeping this team in games, and if they just considering their schedule, that what they have left, specifically this week against the Vikings, if they could stir a little chaos down the stretch, maybe make the playoffs, and maybe play close with the Texans, which I think they will if Tannehill starts. I'm not going to count them out of it. They play close with almost every team that they play, and so yeah. I'm willing to concede that on that front. So for once, the Dolphins, you get my praise. You deserve some credit here. What about your most disappointing team?
I realized that I accidentally picked 2 surprising teams, so I went with a different one.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm going to talk about the Vikings.
Oh, yes.
So the Vikings are probably my second favorite team in the NFC North.
Yeah.
Mostly because we both kind of felt the same pain watching the Packers be so successful. Mm-hmm. Insert picture of Squidward watching SpongeBob and Patrick having fun outside.
Yeah.
we both been Squidward.
Yes.
So I understand I understood their pain for a while, and I was just I had a very good for you moment last year. For the Vikings. And obviously all of us at the beginning of the season thought that the Vikings were going to be not only clear-cut division winners, but Super Bowl contenders.
Right. Yep.
That didn't stay that way for very long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the overarching problem is, but something is just going wrong. They obviously fired their offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Kirk Cousins maybe isn't playing as well as he's being paid to. Mm-hmm. Combination of both. I don't know. I feel bad for the Vikings because I do think that they should be a better team than they are.
Absolutely.
And last night was just a terrible. It was a terrible game overall, but especially as just for the Vikings, it was miserable.
It was a miserable game, and a lot of Vikings fans are pissed today because they thought that the Seahawks should have been called for a penalty on their only scoring chance that they had all day. But to be honest with you, your offense played like shit, and you gave up 2 touchdowns in the last 2 or 3 minutes. So I cannot really feel too bad for this team.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, had probably one of his worst career games in his career. Duh, I used career twice there. But he is certainly not living up to his expectations. And when you need to play in a big moment like this and you fall apart, it's not gonna end well for you. And knowing that this contract that he has is completely 150% guaranteed, the first completely guaranteed contract in NFL history, that's a really tough pill to swallow if he does not improve. I like Kirk Cousins. I thought that he had some good years with Washington, and I think I thought that he started out on a good foot with Minnesota. It is not doing well. At one point, Adam Thielen, the ESPN's Mike picked up at one point. He said he got like one of his first catches of the night, and he was like, that has been there all day. And it was kind of like a shot. I think Kirk Cousins not going after him as much, so it's clearly not. Things are just not as solid on this team as we expected. It is him, and it's him, and it's the offensive line also being beat up. The running backs, Dalvin Cook, underperforming relatively. He's had some good games here and there, but he's not been the showstopper that many people thought he would be. And right, John DeFilippo was extremely disappointing as offensive coordinator, who many of us who like follow coaches and stuff. He was a quarterback coach with the Eagles. He had a few other stints where he played. He was such a good coach, and many people credited player success to him. And to go to Minnesota and bomb and now be fired mid-season, he could have been a head coaching candidate this offseason, and now that looks like it's gonna be a little while before he gets that opportunity. So it's a disappointment for him, and it's a disappointment for this Vikings team. And some people said it earlier this year, or earlier today rather. Tony Sparano, who passed away earlier this offseason, he was the offensive line coach. Many people feel like that his death unfortunately might have not only obviously hurt them in their real lives, but could have also hurt them on the field, because his presence has been just greatly missed this season. And so it's just been all around just such a disappointing year for the Vikings, and just a sad one at that. So it's a shame. It's a shame where they're at.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's great for the Bears, but it's just not good for the Vikings right now. The Texans, meanwhile, have ended their winning streak at 9 wins, and they lost to the Colts on Sunday. And I put them under my most disappointing team, because I just felt like this was their opportunity to really take this division. And just
if they would have won, they would have been in first round bye.
They would have, right?
Territory.
That's what a shame. What a shame.
Yeah.
Cause no one. I mean, obviously people talk about the Patriots' struggles in Miami, but no one really expected that going into Sunday, and then it happened. But the Texans just they could not get their footing in, and it just was not. It just felt like it was not the Texans' game from the beginning, and a lot of it can be attributed to the Colts defense playing well, and obviously Andrew Luck is playing very well this year. But they gotta turn things around. They played a good team on Sunday. They turned things around. They gotta go to the Jets, New York, which should be okay, should be easy. Yep. And then they got the Eagles. Surprisingly, they should be able to take care of business there.
I think so, with how depleted the Eagles secondary is.
And then the Jaguars. But so it's not a terrible stretch for them, but they don't want to risk being upset here, because the Colts and the Titans are still both on their tail. So will be interesting to see how that unfolds. Okie dokie. With that being said, it is time for our picks. Last week, it was a rough one for both of us. I think it was our worst week in a while. We went 8-8, just a completely 500 record. and the only movement at all with our differences at all was the team chaos. The Browns got the team chaos for me, and I got my guarantee, so I moved to 2 points. Unfortunately for Go Cubs, the team chaos went his way, but
Yes.
the guarantee, which was the Texans,
Fuck you, Texans.
it just completely did not work out. So, it is 41-38 the points right now. The records sit at 122-83 for myself, 121-84. Very close game still going into week 15, which is exactly, I think, where both of us would like it to be, to keep this competition tight and going down the stretch to week 17. As for our team picks, I got my first loss this week as a Rams picker, so now
That's true. That is true. I was thinking about that. I was like, oh my god, Chris got the Rams wrong.
I got the Rams wrong. So after a 12-game winning streak, the Bears ended at that for me. So
they're fucking down.
It's 12-1 for both of us right now. But Rams continue being our best picking team. Yes. Also in that mix for you. You're sitting at 11-2 for both the Chargers and the Seahawks. Look at you.
Really?
I
didn't know I was that good for the Chargers.
The Chargers, you're looking good, and the Seahawks. I think Seahawks is your most impressive because their record is sitting at 8-5, and you're 11-2 on that. That's pretty good. As for myself, my best record after 12-1 is 10-3 with the Bengals, Chiefs, and Seahawks as well. Cool. So an interesting mix there. All right, let's do this. It's gonna be an interesting week because you got a lot of teams battling interconference this week. It's kind of like the last batch of weird matchups coming up here. It's your last week of Thursday night football, and it's a lot. The playoffs are really gonna get clear after this week, with how this is slated out, and we're gonna start with the biggest game in the AFC this season. The Chargers go to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs in a battle for not only could be for the AFC West division, but also for the number 1 seed in the conference. It is a juggernaut of a matchup. Big boy football right here. What do you got, Go Cubs?
Big boys only. You remember last week when I called the Ravens almost upset?
Yes.
I'm going to call the Chargers actual upset.
You're going to pick the Chargers.
I'm going to pick the Chargers to take down the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I really, really like the Chargers this year. Chiefs obviously were my Super Bowl pick. I don't know if that will stay the same at the start of the postseason because I really like the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think that the Chargers just definitely have upset potential.
Yeah.
Chargers have struggled against the Chiefs the past couple years.
Have not won, I think, since 2013.
Yes. Which scares me away from this a little bit. But I think that the Chargers are a worthy opponent for the Mahomes throne, and could definitely pull this upset and see what the fuck happens going into the rest of the season.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with Chargers. Team Chaos.
Are you gonna put Team Chaos label on that?
If you'll allow me.
Yes, for sure. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, Team Chaos.
The Chargers, they are going to be without Gordon and Eckler this week. This is their top 2 running backs, but they have Justin Jackson, who had just a strangely amazing game against the Steelers a few weeks back. So I'm not too worried on that front for them. I do think that Eric Berry being back if he is back, is gonna be the difference in this game, and it's in Arrowhead. I really want the Chargers to win this game too, just to see a shift in this division. But I'm gonna go Chiefs in this one. Okay. We'll go on that front.
Figured that was gonna be the case.
Yeah, it's tough.
I need these like oddball picks so that I can catch up to you.
No, for sure. I respect it. I think that's a big, bold pick, and I like it. The Texans All right, so now we have Saturday games for the next 2 weeks. It's gonna be that's fun. We won't have those. We'll have those for 2 weeks, and then next Saturday games will be wild card weekend games. But first up is the Texans going to New York to take on the Jets. That's not a great way to start a Sunday slate, but hey,
No,
it is.
it's Saturday slate.
It's Saturday slate. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It is but it is going to be fun to see that. A big national game for the Jets, coming off a nice win over the Bills, surprisingly.
Yeah.
What do we have in this game, Go Cubs?
I think the Texans are gonna be just fine.
Yeah.
Impressive win over the Bills, but the Bills.
It is the Bills. Now, I think I feel like the Bills have been improving as the season's gone along, so I think that's why I'm calling it impressive. But both are still near the bottom of the league, I don't see the Texans being upset in this matchup, so I'm going Texans in this one. Next up, the Cleveland Browns. Ooh, I'm feeling these Browns, man. Oh yes, the Brownies beat the Panthers last week, and now going to Denver to take on the Broncos, who lost big time to the San Francisco 49ers after losing Emmanuel Sanders and Chris Harris in a few weeks ago. And so now they got a visit from Cleveland and Baker Mayfield. What do you got for this game?
If everything goes their way, the Browns can still make the playoffs.
I was just about to talk about that. Yes.
Yeah.
No,
they're on fire.
They're good. Good.
They're good. And I think that the Broncos just they don't have that same spark that the Browns do. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Broncos have a better chance of making the postseason than the Browns do, but not by much.
Not by much, no.
Not by much. And I think just Baker Mayfield, being the player that he is going to lead the Browns to a victory.
He just, every single week, it keeps on popping up in my timeline. People who watch Game Pass and or sit there and watch the coach's film and shows you the Baker Mayfield throws that are just absolutely insane. He is just slowly becoming one of those quarterbacks that right now obviously is not going to be talked about too much because he's on the Browns, but I think will soon really start to take over the league. And I love this matchup for the Browns. I think that they take care of business in Denver as well. And to your point about them making the playoffs, not only do they have a chance to make the playoffs still, they could still be the AFC North champions, my friend. Because here, picture this.
Oh, you're right. Damn it. Oh, God.
Picture this, my friend. Okay, ready for this?
Oh, God.
Steelers.
Chris.
I got to break it down, though. All right?
Okay, go.
Patriots, Saints, and Bengals are left on the Steelers schedule. They would have to lose all three. Certainly the first two are possible. The third one might be a little tough, but let's just say, for division purposes, that the Steelers end up bombing that last game and everything jumps to fire in Pittsburgh, okay? Then the Ravens, they win this week against Tampa Bay. They lose the following week against the Chargers, and then the Ravens versus Browns, especially if the Steelers lose to the Bengals, that's your battle for the AFC North. That could be your Sunday Night Football game right there. And if the Ravens lose that game, and they did lose to the Browns earlier this year, 8-7-1 Browns could host a playoff game, baby.
Oh my God.
The Browns could be alive in week 11. It's week 17.
How do you think Hugh Jackson fucking feels right now?
I bet he feels like utter garbo.
Yeah, he should.
Because this is what I've been saying from week 1, man. I've been saying that this talent on this team is better, but this fucking coach is awful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that this Browns team is a playoff game. And again, a lot of things have to go their way down the stretch. You know, I don't. It would be a shock to me if they make the playoffs, but the fact that it's possible with 3 weeks left shows the improvement that the Browns are on. Is a complete indictment on the Hugh Jackson era in Cleveland. That is incredible. and
Yeah.
I'm loving it. To me, it's like the perfect amount of revenge. Imagine if the Browns beat the Bengals. They have to win out, and so they have to beat the
They do.
Broncos, and they have to beat the Bengals and the Ravens. But if if they get to beat the Bengals twice, and both times with Hugh Jackson on that team to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Mwah, mwah. That would be amazing. And I know everyone's like, we don't want to have shitty teams in the playoffs, and I agree with you. I hate that idea. But the Browns are not that shitty with Baker Mayfield. They're fun to watch.
Yeah.
If you just sit down and watch a game, they're fun to watch. So I would be okay with it. Let us move forward, though, to the Cardinals going to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. A battle of birds, but two birds that are completely just laying in their own bird caca right now.
They don't got no wings, Chris.
They got no wings.
Playoff fixtures of yesteryear, and by yesteryear I mean 3 or 4 years ago for the Falcons and 1 to 2, or 3 to 4 years ago for the Cardinals, 1 to 2 years ago for the Falcons. Now, no more. Yeah. But the Falcons are gonna win.
I was like, oh my god, he might go with the Cardinals here. I can't. I have to go with the Falcons. I will say this: the amount of points scored by this offense in the last few games, considering what they should be, considering the talent that this team should have,
yes,
completely disappointing.
Because you have Matt Ryan and Julio Jones on your team,
and it has been a complete disappointment on their front because it has not even just been the defense for this team. So I'm sure that Sarkisian's probably going to be the scapegoat in this one, but I don't know. Matt Ryan's not playing as well as he should be. There's some weird shit happening in Atlanta. I'm going to go with the Falcons. But will I sit here so shocked that the Cardinals win it, though? I would not be, because I think the Falcons have been just that much of a disappointment.
By transitive property, the Cardinals beat the Packers and the Packers beat the Falcons in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, there you go. So there's your scenario. But
it's going to end up being a rock paper scissors deal. So
yeah, exactly. So I'm going Falcons on this one.
Yeah.
Next up, the Bucks go to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Bucks blew a lead against one of the top teams in the NFC last week. Ravens almost beat a very good team in the AFC. Now they battle each other. What's going to happen in this one?
Tampa Bay still has a pretty good offense.
Yeah.
And like from the first few weeks, like had like one of the highest scoring offenses as a result, or at least most yards.
Yes.
That ain't gonna fly in Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Yep.
I like how you used fly there because they're birds.
Because they're birds. Yeah, we get it.
I like the Ravens in this one too. Baltimore is a fun setting. I'm actually hoping that they do get the division just to see a playoff game in Baltimore. That would be fun.
Yeah. What's cool about Baltimore is that their team is named after the Raven by Edgar Allan, and their mascots, they have 3 ravens named Edgar, Allan, and Poe.
Damn right.
Because Edgar Allan Poe lived in Baltimore.
Yes. No, I like it. I like how poetic the Ravens are in that.
Did you know they have a lot of crabs in Maryland?
Yeah, they do. Thank God there's no one named the Crabs. That would be unfortunate. They do have the turtles though, or the terrapins. Next up, the Lions go to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Again, a battle of two dead teams in the water. Which one will prevail in this one?
I'm going to go not with the team, but with the quarterback, Josh Allen.
Ooh, you're going Bills. I'm surprised.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go Buffalo too, because
Josh Allen is quite the player.
He's done well.
He has exceeded my expectations for him. Mainly with his feet.
That was so because everyone, when it was a big criticism outside of like the arm talent, which I criticized his accuracy, but another thing that people were criticizing him was being like a pocket passer and not being able to be mobile, and he's been one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league. So he's
outrushed a ton of rushers.
Right, exactly. It's he is completely outdone expectations to this point, and it shows that a player even if they have these flaws, could change and could adjust to a big pro style offense. So good for him. He's right now underway, and I think the Bills should be happy with him. I'm going with them to win, just cause, especially I think if this was in Detroit, I would have gone Lions, but it just But this is Josh Allen's a good reason too. Next up, the Bears or the home team in this one. They are going to be hosting the Green Bay Packers, and oh boy. So here's your substance in this game. This could be the game that the Bears clinch the NFC North with a win. And not only that, but they would essentially knock the Packers, of all teams, the Packers, out of the playoff contention race. What a moment you have here for your Bears. Go Cubs.
It is such a big moment that I'm going to guarantee it.
Yes. The Packers, correct?
No, fuck you. The Bears are so good, and we almost beat the Packers at the start of the year.
They did.
Going from team chaosing the Bears at the game 1 of the year to now locking the Bears to just get rid of this fucking terrible team. They suck, Chris.
I know. I'm ready to send these Packers off.
Send them packing.
Oh damn! I wish I thought of that.
That was low-hanging fruit, but I'm glad I thought of it.
Yeah, you could own it. I was talking about it last week with you. I said that if they don't win against the Rams, I would just be worried about what the future holds because they do have to win 2 big games down the stretch. They did it. They beat the Rams, and they're 1 win away from winning the NFC North, which is crazy, but it's so exciting, and I think they get it done in this game. I'm going Bears. It has to go their way this time. Come on. Let the NFL gods be on the Bears' side and give them this win over Aaron Rodgers of all guys. Come on.
Give us this win. Give us this day.
It'll just be absolutely incredible if that happens, and so I'm rooting for it very much so. Next up, the Raiders go to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. I mean, look, the Raiders beat the Steelers last week. They could beat the Bengals. Jeff Driscoll played tight with the Chargers on Sunday, but will that carry over to this week?
I can't morally. Yeah, morally is the word I'm going to use. Expect the Raiders to win 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the home Bengals.
Yeah, I got to go with the Bengals because look, the past 2 weeks for the Raiders have been impressive. They played tight with the Chiefs and they beat the Steelers. It seems like their offense might start to be clicking a little bit. I have no faith in them yet, and I probably won't have faith in them until next year at the very least. So I'm gonna go Bengals in this one. Jeff Driscoll gonna get his first win, I think, as a starter. Yeah. Next up, juicy, fun, big game. Cowboys go to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. One is looking to lock up the NFC East this weekend, while the other is looking to stay in the hunt in the AFC wildcard race. A close one. What you got in this one, Go Cubs?
I wasn't sure on this one.
It's a tough one.
It is tough. I decided to go the safe route with the Cowboys, but the Cooper effect, like the longer it takes before it falls, I feel like the more likely it's going to happen. And I feel like this could be it for the Cowboys, but they're doing so well and their defense is so good that I can't not pick them. Yeah. And I hate that because I hate the Cowboys.
I will say this, and maybe I'm wrong, but the Colts, they rebounded so well against from being shut out by the Jaguars to beating the Texans the way they did. I have a lot of faith that they're going to keep this game super close. I think Andrew Luck is going to be the better quarterback in this game. And I think that I'm we'll see how the health is for the team. I think that's the big question going into this week. But if a lot of the team is healthy, I think they can compete with anyone. I have to go with the Cowboys as well. It's just the thing. It's like, who has proven it to be more in the last 3 weeks? It's been the Cowboys time and time again. So I'm gonna go with the boys, and they clinched the NFC East. So go with them. Next up, the Washington Redskins are going to Jacksonville to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and yet another matchup of games of teams that are probably out of it. More so the Jaguars; they've been officially eliminated, but the Redskins, who are Josh Johnson at quarterback, how fun is that?
Here, the fourth, number four.
Number four.
Someone
gets to number 4 at some point. And it's the Redskins.
Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job.
Yeah, that's another hot button topic as well.
Yeah.
I'm
not saying he's going to be a great quarterback. I'm just saying that Josh Johnson and are currently starting in this league.
No, I'm with you. I think that Kaepernick is probably a better quarterback than I have any quarterback on the roster right now for Washington. Now, Josh Johnson, he's gonna get some work in before he goes. I believe he got drafted by Sacramento in the Alliance of American Football League, which starts in February. And so he'll get some NFL prep time before he gets to kick off his next line of work in the spring. So boom,
baby,
there you go. That's some nice heat on this game. With that being said, I'm not only picking the Jaguars, I'm guaranteeing it. I just think the Jaguars played such
throw the Cats a bone. I'm gonna choose them too.
Yeah, I know that is such a risky play to pick the Jaguars as my guarantee, but the truth of the matter is, I think that the Titans are just the kryptonite of the Jaguars, and I think that the Jaguars defense started to show life against the Colts a few weeks ago, and against just an awful team in Washington as it stands right now. I think they take care of business. Cody Kessler will get his second win. I have faith in that. It's a weird faith, but it's a faith that I'm gonna have. Next up, the Vikings the Dolphins are going to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Now, this is also a sneaky big matchup, and it may play close considering how the Dolphins have kind of fared in the last few weeks, played close with all their opponents, and the Vikings just are starting to fall apart. Their offense is just not where it should be, but they're at home, and that should be a huge factor in this game. What do you think's going to happen?
This is, potentially eliminating both teams from playoff contention.
Could be.
Big game implications here. Less so the Vikings than the Dolphins.
Yes.
The rest of the NFC for the Vikings is they could be okay still. That being said, I'm still gonna go with the home Vikings over the Dolphins. Get your shit together, Minnesota.
Yeah, and I know I keep on relating stuff to the Bears, but I know it's just the big topic of our podcast has been. But this is also a scenario where if worst case scenario happens on Sunday and the Bears lose to Packers, they could still get a nice helping from the Dolphins, and they could win.
True.
And the Vikings would be out of the NFC North running. But with that being said, I'm with you that when Vikings at home have played better than the Vikings on the road, and I think that's what's going to take care of business. Plus, I'm going to keep on writing the theme of when you fire a coordinator or a head coach, you usually end up fixing some of the problems the following week. Mostly because the defense of the other team doesn't really know how to prepare for that. So. We'll see, but I'm gonna go Vikings. Next up, the Titans going to New York, taking on the Giants. This is such a weird game for me because it is abnormally close. For me to pick this, and I'm gonna go. I hate doing this to myself. I'm picking the Giants because I just don't have any faith and I feel like this Titans team has jerked me around way too much. They had a great game against Jacksonville, but this Giants team, I think, at home will take care of business with how well their offensive weapons have been playing.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. The Titans, god damn it! Like, why can't you just be normal for once? There's a like meme where it's like from I think like Babadook or something, where a mom is shouting at her child in the backseat, like, "Why can't you just be normal?" And the kid is just screaming. That's the Titans right now.
You made a meme with the Jets in that picture last year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, because goddamn Titans, just do something consistent. Be good, be bad. All your players are that way too. Like Derrick Henry does nothing, and then he scores 40 fantasy points, and no one knows what to do anymore.
No one knows what to do with their hands.
Don't know what to do in this game, and the Giants win.
Yeah, it's just a home. I feel like the Titans are a different team at home than they are on the road, and I think that's where like same thing with the Vikings. You know that in my view, if you're gonna have the Titans on the road, I just do not trust them. So I'm gonna go with New York in this matchup.
Yeah.
Next, the Seahawks take on the Niners for the second time in 3 weeks. And the Seahawks are a win away. I can't believe this, but they're a win away from the playoffs. What you got in this one? They are.
Yeah.
They are. They
could just lock up the 5th seed right here.
Just considering how poor everyone else in the conference is right now, it's very easy that they could do that. Do you think they do it?
This against the 49ers, Christopher.
Yeah. What is Christopher tonight?
I don't know.
This is fun. I get
it. I'm feeling formal, especially when I feel like I need to especially prove a point.
That's fine. It's all good. I don't mind Christopher as much as other people do.
49ers did upset the Broncos, but I don't think that that's going to play too much into this game. And I think the Seahawks are somehow a good team. They lose fucking everybody except Russell Wilson, and they're still a good team. Just a good team in different ways. Their running game is monstrous. Yeah. I don't understand.
It's the Seahawks with they even were without Doug Baldwin in that Monday win. So
yeah,
I mean, come on, but Bobby Wagner just continues to be one of the best defensive players in the league, and I think he's been he's one of the few remaining Richard Sherman era. People keep on calling it the Richard Sherman era or the Legion of Boom era. I guess that's more
Legion of Boom. Yeah.
He's a holdover from the Legion of Boom era. So I guess that's why he has been as good. But he's just been just a phenomenal linebacker, continuing to just be in just absolutely destroying games alone. And I think that he, along with the rest of this team being as solid as it has been, will get the win and get into the playoffs. On that one. Next up, my goodness, this would have been the game of the week if the Steelers weren't as suck-ass right now. But it's the Patriots going to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Steelers desperately need to win this game. And meanwhile, the Patriots are coming off a horrid, just miracle loss. And it's that both teams have really bad taste in their mouths, and we'll see which one will have the most aggression in this game. Who do you got in this one?
The Patriots definitely have more aggression, Chris. Are you kidding me?
I would say so.
Look, anytime I expect the Steelers to do something good or root for them in any capacity one way or another, they always just fuck it up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to try that this time. Just go with the Patriots.
I steered myself away from guaranteeing this game because I felt like it was too lopsided of a matchup. That's how bad it's gone for Steelers fans. So I'm going with Patriots. I think that they're a stronger team right now. Hey,
Yeah.
if Steelers can win this game, they would shut down a lot of hopes and dreams of Cleveland fans for sure. But any hopes of, you know, any chance that the Steelers are gonna have to to not make the playoffs, those dreams are gonna die because they might be back on track if they win this week. But it's not gonna happen. I don't think Patriots gonna win. Next up, Sunday Night Football. The Eagles, who are just trudging along and trying so badly to stay in this playoff race and maybe make to the 6th seed at least. Of course, they have to run into the Los Angeles Rams.
They just can't, Nemo.
Jared Goff has had 2 games in a row now that he's not played well. That's a concern for the Los Angeles.
Yes.
But they're back at home, and this should be a win for the Rams. Or will it be?
I have an interesting statistic.
Go ahead.
The Bears have had 2 games this season that have been flexed into Sunday night.
Yes.
Both teams that the Bears faced against in those flex games have won. Or the Bears have won.
Yeah.
Additionally, those 2 teams have had Sunday night games the following week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which the Vikings have won.
Yeah.
Vikings won theirs. Rams are also going to win theirs.
Yeah.
Just because it's in LA. The Eagles are so depleted on so many fronts. Mm-hmm. And I think that the Rams are going to be able to bounce back.
Yeah.
Chicago defense, Eagles are not.
Yeah, the Eagles are they're so beat up in so many ways, and I get that the Eagles want Doug Peterson's head for some reason. I don't get it.
It's one goddamn season, but also it's Philadelphia.
Right.
Philadelphia sucks.
I think that Doug Peterson deserves at least another season to prove that he's going to continue to be a good coach, and I think that he has. It's been a tough year without Frank Reich by his side and John DeFilippo, although John DeFilippo seems like he misses the Eagles at the moment as well.
Could go back to the Eagles.
Yeah, so but I have way too much faith in this Rams team for them not to see them bounce back. And it's a revenge game from last year when Carson Wentz went down with an injury. Let's just hope that no one gets injured in this game. But I just don't think the Eagles will do it. So I'm going Rams in this one.
Yeah.
Last game, Monday Night Football. God, this looked like a great game earlier in the year.
I'm so upset.
The Saints.
I'm gonna have to choose the Saints.
The
Panthers are just they were 6-2, Chris. They were 6-2, but now they're 6-7. They're not gonna make the goddamn playoffs, and I'm really sad.
I didn't even get a chance to intro the game.
I know. I just did it for you. Saints need to bounce. Saints have had a couple of slow weeks, particularly against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then again against the Buccaneers, who beat them earlier in the season, but then the Saints were able to come back. The Saints just need some fire to their offense, and I think that this will be the matchup where the Saints will be able to do that because the Panthers, they just aren't living up to the talent on their team.
Mm-hmm.
And it pisses me off.
Yeah, no, it's understandable. 5 straight losses. Looked at as one of the best teams in the NFC. It's now just they're clinging to life, and they have to face the Saints twice in the next 3 weeks. Insanity for this Panthers team. It's just a shame. I'm going Saints, and we'll see if the Panthers can make things interesting. With that all being said, by the way, something that I forgot to mention earlier, the playoff scenarios. Do we have any? Has anyone released playoff scenarios? Is what I'm going to ask because I feel like the NFL communications
usually does it on Wednesday. I do have some scenarios to read off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, would you like NFC or AFC first?
I will. We start off with the AFC this week, so go with that.
Okay. So for the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs have already clinched their playoff berth. They will clinch the AFC West and a first-round bye in the playoffs if they win.
There you go.
If the Chiefs win and the Patriots lose, the Chiefs will also clinch number 1 seed and the AFC playoffs.
And they would have nothing to play for the next 2 weeks.
Yes. They will lock up number 1 and be solid.
Mm-hmm.
If they win and the Patriots lose. The New England Patriots. They will clinch the AFC East if they win and the Dolphins lose. And the Dolphins lose.
That would.
Not an or, and.
Which that's kind of crazy too, but it's not impossible either.
Yeah. They also clinch a playoff berth if they win and the Titans lose.
That's very possible.
Yeah. I'm not going to read off the massive amounts of lost and ties.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. The Texans. They will clinch the AFC South with a win and the Colts and Titans both losing. And then they will clinch a playoff berth.
They need both to lose?
They need both to lose.
Wow. All right. I mean, it's possible, but it's just I'm surprised.
Yeah. They will also clinch a playoff berth if they win and pretty much any combination of the Dolphins, Steelers, Ravens, Colts, Titans, Patriots losing.
All or just one?
Any Texans win, Dolphins and Steelers lose, or Texans win, Dolphins and Ravens lose.
Oh, okay. So it's like they need like 2 of those teams to lose.
Yeah.
Well, one of them, the Patriots.
If Texans win, Dolphins lose, and one of the AFC North teams loses.
Yeah.
But it can't be like the Steelers and Ravens can't both lose and Dolphins win. That won't work.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So I think they're in pretty good shape.
Yes.
The Chargers. The Chargers will clinch a playoff berth with a win. If they either win, the Dolphins and then either the Steelers or Ravens both lose.
Okay.
And then a bunch of weird tie scenarios. Ties and losses.
I mean, Dolphins certainly can lose, and the Steelers, I think, could definitely lose. So that's...
Yeah.
I mean, that might be...
That would clinch a playoff berth.
Yeah.
They will automatically clinch a number 5 seed in the playoffs or higher with a win.
What a big game on Thursday. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right. That is it for the AFC scenarios.
Okay.
Still in the playoff picture for the AFC is... Where'd that go? Right now, Kansas City, New England, Houston, Pittsburgh are the division leaders.
Okay.
With Los Angeles Chargers and Baltimore Ravens in the wild card.
Yeah.
In the hunt are the Dolphins, Colts, and Titans. I would say are the most likely teams to make it. Broncos, Browns, and Bengals are still in it, but not by much.
Not by much, no. Okay.
All right. NFC. The New Orleans Saints have already clinched the NFC South. They will clinch a first-round bye in the playoffs if they win and the Bears lose.
Okay.
Same thing with the Rams. They have clinched their division with the NFC West, and they can clinch a first-round bye if they win and the Bears lose.
My God, the Bears. I can't believe the Bears are still competing for a bye. That's crazy.
Technically, yeah. I mean, like, the Bears have to win out, and either the Saints or the Rams have to lose out.
Right, yeah.
If they both do, and the Bears win out, the Bears get first seed. That's not going to happen, but the Bears could still be first seed, technically. Mathematically.
Anyways.
I love it. Speaking of the Bears, they will clinch the NFC North if they win or the Vikings lose.
Which was expected.
Yes. They can also clinch a playoff berth if the Redskins lose.
Oh, man. Oh, man. I mean, they're facing the Jaguars, so, I mean, anything can happen, but... Oh, right. Man.
So if that happens, the Bears are in the playoffs. If the Redskins lose, the Bears are in the playoffs.
It's crazy. Oh my goodness.
Or if the Bears for some reason tie.
Right.
Next up, Cowboys. The Cowboys will win the East if the Cowboys win or the Eagles and Redskins both lose.
Very possible. Very
Yep.
possible.
Next up, the Seahawks. They will clinch a playoff berth if they win. And then a bunch of weird tie scenarios.
But they can't clinch it if they just win.
They will clinch a playoff berth if they win.
Okay.
They will clinch number 5 seed if they win and the Vikings lose.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes. So Saints, Rams, Bears, Cowboys, Seahawks, and Vikings are the current playoff picture. The Panthers, Eagles, and Redskins are the main teams currently in the hunt. The 3 main teams currently in the hunt.
Okay. Wow. a lot at stake this weekend, and it may very well be that you don't have as many playoff scenarios down the stretch, but
right. I also want to note that those 3 teams that I just mentioned that are in the hunt are all under 500. They are all 6-7.
Yeah.
And the Vikings, who are currently the 6th seed, are 6-1, so dead even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's every weekend from here on out. It's just gonna be one just sitting on the edge of the seats and figure out scenarios. I think that we usually after week 15 you get a very clear idea of what the playoff scenarios are gonna be. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. Or in terms of the not playoff scenarios, playoff the matchups and seeing who might play who. Especially if you have something like the Chargers or Seahawks locking up the 5th seed.
Right now, the Bears would play the Vikings in the first round.
Would you want that? Is that something that
hell yeah, dude?
Well, I shouldn't say that from a matchup standpoint. But from a
overall football fan standpoint, do you want these teams to play a third time?
Yeah, is that something that you would be interested in?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. There's something weird with me where I just don't really love seeing division teams play in the playoffs again because I like seeing
especially since the Bears and Vikings are playing each other the last week. That happened with the Packers Lions a couple years ago.
Yeah, that would be I wouldn't be too much of a fan of that, but at least if they do face each other, it would most likely be in Chicago, so at least the venue would change.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm just saying I am so rooting for the Bears to get the home field for one game because I would just like to see a new venue for a playoff game. As for the rest of the teams though, I'm looking forward to this week. It's gonna be fun. We are short on time. I wanted to do some bold predictions this week, but we just don't have the time to do that right now.
No,
but we'll do it. We'll do it maybe next week. There's a lot more time, especially we have a little bit more time to film the podcast next week because there's no Thursday night football game.
Oh, there's not?
Yeah, this is last week of NFL Thursday night football until next year.
Oh,
how's that for you?
I thought they stopped it.
This is the last week. I can't. It's gonna be.
And what a game to end it on, honestly.
It's an excellent game to end it on, and it makes me sad that it's ending, but at the same time, it's just this is what ends up happening. The NFL season starts to fade away, and we'll be sad, but we got some great football left, and so I'm looking forward to that. Enjoy your bowl games, everyone. Please watch college bowl games because they're fun. They're interesting, even though they're kind of meaningless. I'm looking forward to them. And they're not meaningless to the players though. They like those bowl games. And of course, enjoy football this weekend as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. Go Cubs. Is there? Do you want to do any fantasy advice? I know it's kind of late now, where there's not really much left to talk about.
Just want to mention that I'm out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you are in the playoffs and still competing, you know what the fuck to
do. the best fantasy advice. You know what the fuck to do. Your gut. But you'll be back next year. You'll rebound. You'll be a solid fantasy football team, and everyone out there still competing. Good luck, and hopefully everything works in your favor. And Todd Gurley isn't held for very few rushing yards, or Jared Goff 0.1. Sorry for the shots at the Rams, but god damn, they had a bad week.
They did.
Anyways,
Josh Reynolds might have been their highest scoring player.
Yes. Oh my god. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Be good to one another. Be kind to one another. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.